We're depressed about the Red Sox to an extent as well, but their regular season just ended. They finished the season right at 500. They were 81. They missed the playoffs for the fourth year in 5 seasons. So just for some of the games that you watched, I know, like I said, we didn't get a chance to watch every game or talk about them enough in the regular season, but based on what the expectations were coming into the season, do you think that they took a step forward, or do you think they took a step back?
I mean, I think 81 and 81 with the injuries that they had, whether it was Giolito, Whitlock, and Trevor Story, like early on, and then they have to go through Rafael Devers getting hurt towards the end. I think 81, 81, if the last 3 seasons hadn't happened, you'd be like, okay, this team actually built on something, right? They weren't great, but they were competitive, and all we wanted was all we've been asking for in Boston recently has been just give me some valuable and competitive baseball in August and some in September, and they did that for the most part. They fell out pretty late in August there. So I think if Trevor Story can actually come back and play, even if it's just DH, I think if Giolito and Whitlock, if they're all healthy, do you get 9 more wins out of this team? And if you do, then you're 90 and 72. And I think we're talking a lot differently here.
And even with that, right, I feel like they could have even got the 88 and 74 this year had they not blown some of the bullpen leads, right? Because there was a lot of times where they had the offense to win the game, but then it'd be like 6-3 and then they lose 7-6, or it'd be 4-1, they lose, 6-4 and 10. And it's just like, damn, like if you just held on, but like I said, the bullpen got tired out. You got, Chris Martin that was out for most of the year. You traded for Lucas Sims from Cincinnati in July. But I know this just happened recently. Obviously, he didn't play at the end of the year. But what do you make of that Kenley Jansen situation? Because obviously he didn't finish out the year, and there's been a lot of certain reports about his activity in the locker room. So, do you think he should have finished out the season regardless, or are you okay with him going home early like he did?
No, I think. Listen, if he's not being a good teammate, you need to get him out of here. So and if they gave him the out publicly that said that he left instead of he was sent home, like good for Boston and good for the Red Sox, great. But this team they don't have a strong enough core that they can handle a bad egg. You know what I mean? Like they're going to need to have, this isn't Ortiz, Pedro, Manny, where Manny could be Manny. Like you need more. So whatever his situation is, if he didn't want to be part of the team anymore, if his activity within the clubhouse was bad, get him out of here. Just get him out. We can't have that because, again, I don't think you're as far away from being competitive as some would lead you to believe. I do think there has been some acceptance of mediocrity here for the Red Sox over the last 4 or 5 years, which is fucking baffling.
Agreed.
Baffling.
Agreed. Yep.
But like you're not far away from it. So I mean, I think you're probably going to ask me about like what do I think Breslow should do? Like you need to spend and you need to go from being the 13th best spender in the league to if you go from 13 to 7 this offseason, that shows your commitment, and you're probably going to win 93 games. So do that. Right. And I don't know what you need. Again,
I mean,
starter, you need a closer, you need another bat.
The need is definitely pitching. Like let's just be honest. Like you don't have to watch every game to know that. Like you could tell by the box score, you could tell by the highlights. Like if you just watch MLB.com, like you could tell that in the later innings, they got shelled. They got shellacked. So it's like the middle innings they just weren't successful there. And Bayo needs to be better. You most likely lose Pivetta in the offseason as well. But, Cutter Crawford loses 16 games. That's fucking insane. Like you say, he lost for what? Tanner Houck, who was an all-star this year, didn't win a game in the second half until, 2 weeks ago. So, like, that can't fucking happen. You feel me? Like, they had 3 all-stars. Should have been 4, I think, actually, because Kenley should have been an all-star too this year. So, to have 4 all-stars potentially, to have the All-Star Game MVP and Jarren Duran, there were definitely strides made this year, right? And like you said, you want competitive baseball in August and September. They had that. They were there. It sucks because Minnesota and Kansas City said, here, we don't want to go to the playoffs. Take it. We don't want to go, and they just couldn't cash in. So that was annoying, but just two more things to touch on, and then we'll get out of here. So, out of Jarren Duran, Tristan Casas, Trevor Story, and then Masataka Yoshida, like out of those four guys, would you move anybody? And if you did, what would you want as a return?
Well, I don't think you're going to get anything for Trevor Story just because he hasn't played at all since we got him. And it seemed like the Red Sox lost faith in Yoshida this year too. Yeah. So I think if you can get everyone back that you lost this year to injury healthy and see what you have next year, I think you should do that. And then if they are getting better and maybe you're not winning as many games, you can use one of them as trade bait towards the trade deadline. But I think they're going to have money to spend, right? Again, I just said they were the 13th highest spending team in the league. And when they won all the championships in 04, 07, 13, 18, they were top 7 every one of those years. Right. So like just go get a real fucking starting pitcher. I'm not asking you to go get Ohtani. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to go get a guy like that. It'd be great, but just
would you go after Soto?
Yes.
What would you give him?
How old is he?
I know he's in.
Is he 28?
He's close. I think he's in that ballpark. Yeah, because he was 19 to 20 when he came up. So yeah.
Give me 10 years, $600 million.
Okay, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I do the same deal, and because it's the Red Sox, I get the opt out of it after 8.
Sure, do it. Whatever.
Yeah. So 8 years, that swing was made from Fenway Park. My thing is,
was
New York,
him and Rafi back to back.
Yeah, New York probably offers that to him, so I don't think that they will let him go after the season he had there. And especially him and Judge were an amazing 1-2 combo. Getting Jazz Chisholm for them in New York was huge as well. So he's made a great impact on them since he's been over there since July. But yeah, I mean, listen, I at least want to hear that they offer. Once again, if he doesn't come, he doesn't come. But I want to
not a fucking John Lester offer, a real offer.
Right, correct. Like not no 8 year for like 280. Like
or what remember it was 5 for 125 or something like that back in the day. Fuck off, dude.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But then right around you give David Price 7 years, 217 the next year. You know what I'm saying? So, and once again, it still bothers me that Dombrowski's in Philly and they're in the playoffs.
They're in it every year.
And again, and once again, because you thought that he was wasting you money, you got rid of him.
When literally the majority of our young talent were Dombrowski guys. Still,
right? Correct. Like, so I'm like, how do you justify it? So that's what I'm saying. Henry's the craft. Once again, it's become more about how much can I pocket as opposed to putting a good product on the field. And once again, we talked a little bit about the prospects. You mentioned to me about Kyle Teal. You mentioned to me about Marcelo Mayer, who was a pick a few years back. You mentioned to me about Roman Anthony and then Christian Campbell. Those are all those guys you talked to me about earlier. I was like, I don't know if those guys make the roster, next year. But to answer your question about what the projections would be, I think at least 2 of those guys make the team next year. Mayer is an in middle infielder, so I think that if you want to keep Story at short and then put Mayer at second, I know people are horny for Mayer at shortstop, but I'm like, hey man, Trevor Story is still an elite defender at shortstop. We've seen it in September when he came back. And it's like a quick aside on that, right? I'm a little mad. I know I just asked you the question about who would you get rid of. Believe it or not, I'd actually trade Casas. And the reason why,
because you get more back for him.
Well, you get more back from him, but I'm also mad at how he handled the season. So when they needed a left-handed bat badly in July, early August, it was like, I'm coming back slowly from the injury. Like I'm really close. I'm starting to swing. And then it's like you came back where they were damn near almost out of it, even though they were still somewhat in contention. But like some of the games with his bat, they could have won because he was extremely hot in September,
Yeah.
And I'm just like the fact that Trevor Story came back, 5 months after that injury, when he probably came back faster. Like I respect Trevor Story for coming back and trying to help the team win some games and honor that contract going into the end of the season. So to me, I would trade Casas, see what you can get, but also to me, he came off like a prima donna at some points this year. Once again, I'll get some flack for that in the comments, and oh well. Is Casas talented? Obviously, duh. That's why I want him on the field. But at the same time, I felt like when they needed him the most earlier in the year, I just felt like he milked the injury longer than it should have been. And once again, only he knows how severe it was, and the team does too. But I feel like maybe who knows, maybe ownership said, hey, like, we're not trying to win as many games. I know they were 53-42 going into the All-Star break. So I think after they won 2 out of 3 or swept Kansas City and going into the break. So you were like, okay, like they're building something, and you got to invest in the team. And then, like I said, he wasn't back.
So they went 28 and 39 in the second half.
Yep, 28-39. Yeah, once again, another collapse. Once again, maybe now you got folks thinking that they gave Cora the money prematurely. That's a whole other discussion for another day. But whether we like it or not, Cora is the face of the franchise right now. He just is. I mean, Devers should be, but like I said, Devers doesn't really speak that much English, so there's only so much they can do as far as marketing with him from a business perspective. But I just wanted to be aggressive. Once again, we just talked about New England earlier in the show, not being aggressive when it came to spending and trying to better the team. But once again, you've seen the emergence of William Abreu. You've seen the emergence of Cedar Rafael, who was amazing this season. So you have some pieces of the future. So now if you add the Teals of the world, Roman Anthony's, Campbell's, whatever pitching staff they have in the minor leagues, and you bring those guys up for 2025 spring training and eventually make the team, they can eventually do some damage eventually. But I just want to give back to October baseball. Once again, there is no better place to be than Fenway Park in October. I tell people all the time, and people think I'm crazy, but I will stand by this until I'm no longer on this earth. When the Red Sox are on fire, they are the number 1 team here in Boston. It's
100%.
It's not close. And people can say what they say about the Celtics and Patriots and whatever. When the Red Sox are rolling, it's a whole different thing. Once again, 2018 was a different type of level here. 2013, 04, whatever. Like, it's a whole different meaning when those guys are on fire. Once again, I watch those highlights all the time of 04, 07, even 08, right? Like, I remember, JD Drew coming through. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like
losing to Tampa.
I know it was sick, but it was just like, that was a great series overall. But my guy Jason Bay, right? Mad about that initially, but he was excellent his year and a half here. So that's what. Can you make a deal like that? Can you go get a Jason Bay type guy? Can you get another Dustin Pedroia type that you drafted him, but like can you get those type of guys here? Because once again, Vaughn Grissom, the return on investment on him this year wasn't that good. While Chris Sale goes 18-3, and he's gonna be the Cy Young winner. And it
sure is.
And again, news flash, Atlanta's going to the playoffs. Red Sox fans, they're going to the playoffs. They just won. They won earlier. They won 3-0 in the second game of the doubleheader against New York. So they eliminated the Diamondbacks, so they're on to the playoffs. And once again,
wow, 18-3.
18-3. Because once again, listen, and shout out to my boy Aaron. Aaron knows how I feel about Chris Sale. I thought for a long time Chris Sale was by far the best pitcher in the American League. By far. When he was on
until we got him.
No, but even his first few years, like he was amazing. Once again, he didn't do great in the postseason, obviously, but until those few moments in the ALCS and then the World Series. Once again, I'll never forget him having Manny Machado bow down. Yeah, had him in one knee, on bended knee. I'm not talking boys to men. He had him in on bended knee, and I'll never forget it. Won the World Series. I'm forever grateful for that 2018 season. So I'm cool. He's good in my book. I just hate that obviously the extension didn't work, and he ended up his body betrayed him for the time being. But him going 18-3, a sub 3 ERA, which that does not fucking happen for starters anymore. I think he had over 200 strikeouts again. So
he's that guy.
Hey, like I'm not a guy. I'm still a B guy. And once again, as a Chris Sale supporter, I'm happy for him. I hope that Atlanta does well. That was always the team I enjoyed watching when we were kids in the 90s. They had a really great run. But Chris Sale's going to the playoffs, and Vaughn Grissom is now going to be with his family on the couch watching the playoffs. So it is what it is.
Before